Hello, today I'll be giving a basic overview on how to play competitive Pokemon. First I'll be talking about what competitive Pokemon is and what it entails. And then I'll talk about Pokemon's stats, abilities, moves, and items. Then I'll talk about the basics of the actual gameplay and how you should approach the game. I'll mostly be talking about the battling aspect in specific, so I won't be talking about team building. As you probably already know, Pokemon is a turn-based video game. When we talk about competitive Pokemon, we're referring to advanced battling between players. Success in competitive Pokemon means understanding certain intangible variables or unpredictable elements. Think about a trading card game or poker. There's a ton of skill involved in both of those games, but at the same time, you can never predict the next card you get in your deck or the hand you get at the start of poker. In Pokemon, you need a clear strategy and skill, but requires a little luck and has factors of uncertainty. Competitive Pokemon is unique in the fact that you can use the same Pokemon in many different ways. In traditional fighting games, every character has set moves, confirms, and combos that are completely fixed. Competitive Pokemon isn't like that. Aside from the fact that each Pokemon can learn only 4 moves, you can build your Pokemon in a variety of ways. That said, there is a meta with specific optimal kits that every Pokemon has. Also, competitive Pokemon contains components including but not limited to calculation and strategy, probability management, and gathering data. In battle, you must be able to figure out what your opponent might use and what you can do to counteract that move. Thus, you must sometimes be able to read and react to their current position while understanding where you are at. This is the calculation and strategy aspect of the game. Probability management is the idea of managing the numbers and the percent chance. Every Pokemon begins with 100% health, but not every move has 100% accuracy. Some moves have secondary effects that have a certain percent chance to trigger. Last is gathering data. It is crucial to understand what kind of Pokemon your opponent is using and what moves, abilities, and items they have. Also, it is important to figure out patterns that happen and your opponent's habits. That is called gathering data. Now we'll go through what a Pokemon contains and its build. The first thing is understanding the types and type chart. Types are the elements of the Pokemon and moves. There are currently 18 types. Each move has exactly one type, but the only exception is the move Flying Press, which is the signature move of Hawlucha, and has the type of both flying and fighting. If a Pokemon uses a move that matches its type, it gains a bonus in power, which is called Stab, same type attack bonus. Stab gives the move a 50% increase in damage. Every type can receive Stab, including normal. Essentially, it is important to memorize and understand the type chart. The idea is that some types are super effective, which does double damage, and some are not really effective, which cuts the attack in half, or sometimes immune, doing no damage. It is important to learn the type chart of what beats what and what resists what type. For example, here's the basic elemental type: water, grass, and fire. Fire beats grass, grass beats water, and water beats fire. However, grass resists fire, fire resists water, and water resists grass. Some types deal no damage at all to some types. An example is Ghost types is immune to fighting and normal moves, and Fairy is immune to dragon moves. Additionally, there can be a multiplier if the defending Pokemon's dual type loses to more than one type. For example, Bug and Grass are both weak to fire, so a Bug and Grass Pokemon would take 4 times damage from a fire move. Next is permanent stats. Every Pokemon has 6 set stats: HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. HP is the amount of damage a Pokemon can take before fainting. Physical attack is the offensive stat, and majority of the physical moves make contact with the opponent. It targets the enemy's defense. Special attack determines how much damage a Pokemon deals while using a special move. Generally doesn't make contact, and it targets the enemy's special defense. Physical defense determines how much damage a Pokemon receives when it is hit by a physical move. Special defense determines how much damage a Pokemon receives when it is hit by a special move. And last, speed determines the order in which the Pokemon use their move in battle. Another segment that is related to the permanent stats are nature, IVs, and EVs. This is a more advanced concept, but isn't too hard to follow once you grasp the idea. Nature is a mechanic that influenced how a stat changes. The nature typically affects 2 of the Pokemon's stats, except for HP. It increases and decreases one stat by 10%. There are two hidden values that determine their stats. Individual values, commonly known as IVs, and effort values, commonly known as EVs. Individual values, IVs, are the fixed permanent stats. Once they are hatched/caught, each stat has an IV between 0 and 31. This IV affects the stat's value at level 100. EVs are the values that contribute towards the individual Pokemon's stats. They are attained by defeating Pokemon in battle, based on the Pokemon that was defeated. A fully trained Pokemon has a total of 510 EVs. The max you can give to an individual stat is 252 EVs. In terms of team building, there's a slider that already gives you the max amount of EVs. You can build EVs to counter specific sets and build. Other than having permanent stats and natures, there are also 3 categories of moves: physical, special, and status. Physical is one of the 3 categories that inflict damage. The damage of this category is determined based on the attack stat of the attacking Pokemon versus the defense stat of the defending Pokemon. Most physical moves make direct contact, but Earthquake, for instance, does not make contact. Special is one of the 3 categories that inflict damage, and the damage of this category is determined based on the special attack stat of the attacking Pokemon versus the special defense stat of the defending Pokemon. Most special moves do not make direct contact, but Grass Knot does make contact, despite being a special move. A status move is the only move that does not inflict damage. This category includes moves that inflict a status condition, boost or lower a Pokemon's stats, or change weather. If you are playing with Dynamax Pokemon, all status moves become Max Guard, which is a stronger variant of Protect. Now let's talk about the specific status conditions. A status condition affects a Pokemon's ability to battle. The main status conditions are Burn, Freeze, Paralyze, Sleep, Poison, and Badly Poison. Burn inflicts damage every turn and halves the damage dealt by a Pokemon's physical move. Freeze makes a Pokemon unable to use an attack. However, there are a handful of attacks that you can still use normally, such as Fusion Flare, Flame Wheel, Sacred Fire, Scald, Flare Blitz, and Steam Eruption. These moves will automatically thaw the user. If the opponent hits a frozen Pokemon with one of these fire moves, they will thaw. The frozen Pokemon have a 20% chance of thawing each turn and can even thaw right after being frozen. Paralyze makes it so it has a 20% chance of not being able to move. This is called full paralyze. Also, the paralyzed Pokemon have reduced speed. Sleep causes a Pokemon to not be able to use moves, with the exception of Sleep Talk and Snore. Sleep can last from 1 to 3 turns. If a Pokemon uses the move Rest, and the user puts itself to sleep in order to heal it to full health, Rest-induced sleep will last 2 turns. Poison inflicts damage to 1/8 of the user's maximum health. The Badly Poison condition inflicts damage starting from 116 but increases by 116 each turn, so 216, 316, and so on. Next we have abilities and items. These 2 parts of Pokemon are extremely essential and work together. An ability is something every Pokemon has, and it provides a passive effect throughout the battle. Each Pokemon can only have 1 ability, but have the potential to learn multiple. Not all abilities are beneficial, as some negatively affect the holder. Items are an object that a Pokemon can hold on to. It can affect the holder in numerous ways, ranging from powering up, healing, or even inflicting a status condition on the Pokemon holding onto the item. Items and abilities work together because the Pokemon's ability can sometimes determine what the optimal item for the Pokemon is. An example is the Pokemon Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr has the ability Guts, which boosts the user's attack if it is affected with a status condition. This ability is usually paired with the item Flame Orb, which burns the user. This triggers Guts and gives Conkeldurr status condition right away. Now we will go over the extreme basics of Pokemon battles, and I'll provide some tips and tricks for the Generation 8 random format. This is a great format to start with because it requires no preparation of team building and it is the easiest to enter. Additionally, it also has the most users, so you'll always have people to play. So now, in a basic Pokemon battle, traditionally, the battles will be 6v6. If we use the Gen 8 random as the format example, you will generally get every Pokemon from every tier. Ubers, OU, UU, RU, and etc. Although this doesn't always happen because it is random. The goal of the game is to knock out all 6 Pokemon. Some factors of gameplay is to consider are what is your win condition? What I mean by that is, what can you do to secure a victory? What can you do to put yourself in the advantage? These are general questions you must ask yourself when you're in a battle. You want to be in control of the match and set the pace. To achieve a win condition, we must go through the different ways to secure a win. The 2 things when learning how to approach a Pokemon battle is to target a Pokemon's weakness and use a stat boosting move when the opportunity presents itself. This could include moves like Swords Dance, Calm Mind, Dragon Dance, or Cosmic Power. By using these moves, it makes your stats stronger than the opponent's and makes it harder for them to inflict damage onto your Pokemon. Moves like Substitute or Protect can allow you the opportunity to use stat boosting moves because they stall time. Substitute makes the Pokemon lose 25% of its health, but creates a substitute that the opponent must get rid of first. Protect protects the user from any effects that the target uses this turn, including damage. Substitute allows for an opportunity to use a stat boosting move, and Protect lets you see what your opponent is doing. Also, if you know your opponent may switch, then you using a stat boosting move during that turn is a good option. Whenever you have the chance, using a status condition is an extremely good option. All status conditions slow the opponent down in some way, and lets you set up your game. Additionally, setting up entry hazards, which are a condition that negatively affect when a Pokemon gets sent out. This is really crucial and it will help you gain the edge over your opponent. Moves like Stealth Rock, Toxic Spikes, and Sticky Web are all good options to use. Now at the beginning of the game, it is important to scan over your team and see what you are working with. There are certain archetypes of Pokemon, and each type has their own role that will lead to winning a game if used properly. So first is the Sweeper or Glass Cannon archetype, and these are the hardest hitting Pokemon that will generally get you the most KOs. They have the highest attack and speed stats, but poor or generally weak defense and HP stats. They can deal big damage, but also be wiped out quickly if not used carefully. Garchomp, Cinderace, and Zeraora are examples of this archetype. Tanks and support Pokemon fall under a similar umbrella with multiple roles. These Pokemon generally have higher defenses and HP stats, but low offensive and speed stats. These Pokemon's roles can range from healing the team, inflicting status conditions, setting up entry hazards right in the beginning of the game, or simply tanking attacks from switching in. These are all the general basics to secure a win. You must be able to add multiple of these tactics into your game. Another aspect to consider is RNG, or Random Number God, and you must figure out a way to mitigate this RNG. The easiest way to do this is understanding that they can't hex you if you don't give them a turn. Find the weakness of that hex. This concept may seem simple, but applying it takes some thinking. For example, to beat a 30% chance of flinching, which is essentially a one-turn status that prevents the Pokemon from attacking, you must be faster than that Pokemon. Flinching only works if that Pokemon goes first. As you play more and more and understand the game more, you can apply this more advanced technique of reading your opponent's next move. Let's say your opponent has a ground and rock type and you have a water Pokemon out. They know you will want to use a water move because it is 4 times effective and most likely defeat the Pokemon. So you will probably switch into something that water loses to, such as a grass or dragon. If you read and understand the situation, you may want to use an ice move because that beats grass and dragon. So here are just a few tips and tricks for random battles. For random battles, it is important to understand that no one knows each other's Pokemon. So being able to read your opponent and make smart plays is the easiest because your opponent doesn't know what you have. Also, making reads and plays are easier because in random battle, nothing is a surprise. The random generator will only give you Pokemon with optimal sets. So as you play more and see the same Pokemon, it will most likely have a similar kit from before. Also, you want to try to reveal as many of your opponent's Pokemon as possible by forcing them to switch. This can happen by targeting a weakness, using status condition, or using a stat boosting move. The key is first learning the fundamentals, then practicing over and over. You can memorize different situations because similar situations will usually pop up. So that was my basic intro to competitive Pokemon. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something.